In this world, the moon is experiencing a change that will cause the heat to climb above 100 degrees. The surface gets so scorching that power stations burst due to the warmth. You can't step outside for more than 20 seconds without passing out, and the pavement is so hot that touching it might burn you. With the entire world stuck indoors, goods have become the most precious item. Our hero survived for 5 years with his partner. However, as soon as his resources started to dwindle, she hired someone to murder him before everything was gone. But now, 5 years back in time, before it all began, he has the power to gather food and supplies. In this life, he will collect 3 billion items and swears to be the meanest person to get payback on everyone. At this moment, our hero is on the bus, where people are talking about how Mount Fuji had a quake that killed many people, and now their town is also being cleared out. The girl in the tight pink dress says they had to leave so fast she couldn't even grab supplies. The man next to her says all the goods from nearby towns vanished strangely. And the other guy with a shaved head says the same thing happened at Dan Lake in Shenzhen City and also at the Da Hunan storage. The girl is frightened, saying all this must be worth billions. At this point, our hero from behind everyone says it's actually worth trillions, and the vanishing of so many goods, plus all these natural calamities, shows something is happening. It's wise to stay cautious. The girl asks him if it's the end of the world, while the man in the green shirt says he's thrilled. He can't wait for people to be treated fairly. But our hero thinks that unfairness will only grow. Even at the world's end, there wasn't a day when life was fair. After all, he personally lived it in his past life. He was just a regular delivery guy until suddenly the disaster struck, and heat waves hit the whole planet. The Earth's plates shifted, and creatures hidden in the core came to the surface. The entire world transformed overnight, and in this new world, a new system emerged in a society of extreme shortage. Even basic goods like instant noodles were worth millions, and a sausage could buy any favor. In that world, everyone abandoned normalcy. Now, after everything that happened, he was reborn a month before it all started. The girl in the pink dress holds onto him and says she's kind of scared. Can he comfort her? But he walks away, saying there are more urgent things to do, leaving her confused. Outside the bus, he wonders, in a disaster, what's more important? Clearly supplies and resources. In his past life, he spent all his time hunting for them, but this time he will plan ahead. He works at this Walmart, and at the moment, the manager is saying his pay will be cut. He says it's fine and apologizes, recalling that in the first disaster, when everything began, the boss of this place took all the goods and ran. So now, as payback, he will take them for himself. He then opens the storage and the system starts to detect all the nearby goods and sends them to his spatial area, a huge space with a size of over 10,000 meters. With this skill, he has been taking even water from lakes and grabbing all the supplies from cities that will be ruined. After all, if instant noodles are worth so much, imagine real food. The best part is that time there is stopped, so the food stays fresh no matter how long it stays there. Finally, he will have something to eat. The system shows how many resources were gained in this activation, and he feels that after taking so much, he's finally ready. At this moment, 3 guys from work enter the completely empty storage and ask what happened. Our hero reveals he took everything, and the boss says he has no clue how he did it, but orders the other 2 to grab him. But the moment they approach, he steps back and mysteriously vanishes into thin air. They stand there confused, wondering where he went, while he reappears outside. This is his second skill, Spatial Leap. Using his spatial power, he can teleport up to 3 meters away. With this, he can collect supplies much more easily and escape without trouble. He tosses his uniform in the air, declaring the collection done. Then he gets a message on his phone from the officials warning that the Earth is undergoing odd movements, and everyone should be careful because a calamity could happen, but there's no need to panic. Our hero finds this interesting since nothing has really begun yet, and they're already saying this. Does it mean they somehow know the future? At that moment, he gets a call from his girlfriend, Jang Shokin. He sighs and answers, and she scolds him, asking how he dares to put their house up for sale. Does he think she'll stay with him if he sells the house? He needs to be more responsible as a man because, even though she doesn't want the house, she's still a woman. And if he wants to prove he's a real man, he should hand over the house to make her feel safe. Our hero asks if she has anything else to say. She says, "What kind of attitude is this? If he hands over the house, she'll give him another chance, just transfer the papers to her. But if he doesn't, don't even think about marrying her." Suchin hangs up without saying anything. He remembers that in the last 5 years of the disaster, he went out every day to hunt for supplies to feed her and even took her to one of the safe zones. If it weren't for him, she would have starved in the first few days. But still, he recalls a day when he returned home and was attacked from behind, all because he wasn't bringing in as many goods and they wanted to know if he was hiding something. After Suchan was killed, they had fun next to his body, and Jang Shokin warned the guy on top of her that Suchan died because he was a useless failure, and it's good for this guy to prove he's not so incompetent. Suchan was heartbroken to have trusted such a person for so long, but in this life Shokin and that guy named Wang will pay the price, and they won't die easily. The pain he felt, they will feel 100 times more. He calms down and remembers that the things he needs now are not found in the market and can only be bought with cash. But first, he needs to get that money. So he calls a guy named Lu and says he's selling his house at half price, but he wants the money now. In front of the real estate agency, Wang and Shokin are waiting for him. When he appears, Shokin scolds him for keeping her waiting so long, but he ignores her and walks past. Wang asks who let him sell a house and says if he does anything like this again, he won't see the sun tomorrow. But at that moment, Suchan, who has learned to fight after surviving, grabs him by the neck and throws him to the ground, saying he can do whatever he wants with his things. Shokin is scared by this and tries to stop him, but she gets a slap and falls to the ground in disbelief. On the ground, Wang is begging him to let go, he's almost choking. But Suchan tells him not to worry since he won't die so easily. He then releases Wang, who is shocked on the ground, while Suchan enters the real estate agency. At that moment, Shokin threatens him, saying to take this chance she's giving him. If he kneels down and apologizes, she'll consider his case, but if he doesn't, forget about marrying her. Suchan looks back and stares at the two, who run away in fear. Inside the real estate agency, the worker offers him some water, saying they will buy his house now. What does he think? The realtor's plan is simple. Suchan's house is worth $1 million, but now he's selling it for 700 Zalozhen. All they need to do is buy and sell to someone else, and they'll make a good profit. Suchan agrees to sell, but he has to get the full payment now. The guy agrees, saying they'll transfer everything, and by tomorrow morning, it'll all be sorted out. Suchan obviously agrees because houses will lose all value as temperatures rise. Despite several calamities occurring, this town is still calm for now. Volcanoes, quakes, and tsunamis are all so far away. Walking down the street, he sees a poster advertising quick loans. He decides to go there with his house certificate. Upon arrival, he's shocked to see it's the older brother of the guy he just beat up. Knowing this guy will die in the jaws of a creature in the first few days, the guy says he can lend him 500 Zalozhen, he just needs to leave the house certificate. Suchan hands over the certificate, saying he wants another 100 Zalozhen and promises to win it all back at the casino in a week. The seller likes hearing this and thinks this kid must be one of those gamblers who would sell even their family if needed. This way, he won't be able to pay, they'll keep the house, and he'll still have a lot of debt. With that, the guy agrees, and another 600,000 is transferred. Wang is angry, along with Shokin, saying he'll pay the price for this, as they were going to visit Wang's brother and Suchan just came from there. They spot him. Wang wants to know what he's doing here, already grabbing his neck in fear, but they decide to follow him. Suchan remembers that several buildings will collapse because of the tsunamis, but this hotel in Green City has withstood all calamities until the end. He knows the presidential suite is well equipped and even has a pool. Maybe it's a good place to use as a base for a while. Even at the end of times, this place continued to have food for a long time. He is then greeted by the worker, Luke Sinu, who asks what she can do for him. Suchan says he wants 1,000 tables for a feast, startling her. She offers some table options, thinking this kid must be the son of someone very rich. He says he'll want the table that costs 10,000 each and will make a deposit of 500,000. When everything is settled, he'll make the rest of the payment. She's somewhat doubtful but says to follow her to make the payment, thinking that even though this payment of his may not be much, someone who easily spends 500 Zalozhen surely has more to spend, so it's best to help the process. Entering the room, she asks if he's getting married. He says yes, and all this is for a wedding, and he also wants the presidential suite. Sometime later, he's leaving the hotel all happy. He got over 10 million in food, spending 500 Zalozhen with the advanced deposit, and it doesn't matter about the rest since when the disaster begins, the ice blocks he'll have will be worth billions. Watching him leave, she thinks whoever marries him is a lucky girl. At that moment, Shokin appears and asks what that person was doing. The worker asks who she is and she says she's Suchan's girlfriend. The worker then says her boyfriend ordered a feast for over 1,000 people and paid 500 Zalozhen. To have a boyfriend like him, she's really lucky. However, the worker is looking and thinking this girl is at most a 7, but she has a good body. Why do rich guys always like women like this? Shokin and Wang are shocked. A 10 million feast. The worker says it's the case and that maybe she hasn't realized, but many rich people do this. They get into relationships and hide all the money they have until the day of the wedding. Shokin starts to believe this, and Wong thinks it's impossible for that loser to have so much money. However, the worker shows that she received the transfer of 500,000. On the street, Wong is asking Shokin who he's going to invite to a 1,000-person feast. Shokin is confident, saying, "You really don't understand, do you? He's trying to introduce me to the circle of millionaires he knows. Only then will he reveal my identity." Wong is wanting to become a mountaineer and venture into the mountains, but she slaps him, thinking that she has to create as many chances as possible to stay with that loser while imagining herself as a wealthy lady in a chair being pampered. Her eyes sparkle. She never imagined this scenario. She'll definitely have to marry Suchin, the loser, and that's too good. Meanwhile, Suchin is just tallying up what he's done: $700,000 for the house, plus 600,000 loan and 500,000 for the feast. And now that his name is about to be tarnished, taking out a bunch more loans wouldn't be bad. So he installs all the banking apps on his phone and starts taking out a bunch more loans. After creating over 80 accounts, he managed to get another 970,000. Now he needs to buy a fireplace, ice-making machine, ice blocks, smokeless charcoal, and a few other things that aren't available in the markets. With the amount of money he has, buying online with fast delivery is easy. These items are vital for surviving the extreme cold and heat that will occur. He then orders 2,000 tons of smokeless charcoal and also calls an ice factory to make a reservation. As he's walking down the street, a girl calls out to him. She's a friend of Shokin's and says Shokin misses him. However, Suchin knows this girl isn't up to any good. She has always spoken badly of him to everyone. So, does she miss me? She must miss my house, right? Lena looks at Shokin and says Suchin must be testing her, and she has to realize how sad he was with her behavior. Shokin then rushes to Suchan to apologize, feeling embarrassed, asking if he can walk with her. She's not feeling well and was sad to have fought with him yesterday, but Suchin ignores her and tells her to go for a walk alone. Shokin is losing her temper, saying he's being too proud, and Lena says he's getting a taxi. It's good they follow him and see what he's up to. Meanwhile, Suchin is arriving at the ice factory. The guy receives him, impressed that he's so young. Suchin asks if the 2,000 tons of edible ice are ready, and the worker says his factory isn't cheap, but guarantees very fast delivery. He just needs to pay a small portion, and they'll deliver everything. Suchin then transfers 100,000 to him, and the seller informs that everything will be delivered in 3 days. Save the money. The worker asks why he needs so much ice. Is he organizing an event? If he wants, they can cooperate in the future, and the price is negotiable. Suchin says it's all for a charity event and leaves. At that moment, another taxi stops, and the seller gets excited, but it's Shokin wanting to know what that guy who just left was doing here. She's asking because he's her boyfriend. The seller is confused. Is this girl playing detective? What's going on here? He says he ordered 800,000 in ice. Both of them are shocked. 800,000 in ice. It's confirmed he's a millionaire indeed to do something like that. Lena asks, did he tell you what he's going to do with so much ice? The seller thinks and remembers he said he's going to donate it to charity. Both of them get scared without understanding the reason. The scene shifts to one of the city's fanciest restaurants. In his past life, he never enjoyed anything before everything was destroyed, and even having a coffee was a luxury. Looking at the menu, he sees it's all quite costly, and on the last page, there's something for 177,000 with a question mark. He asks what it is, and the worker says it's a special item made by their chef. Suchin says it sounds good and places the order. He remembers that in his past life, several creatures changed. Some people thought it was some kind of biological shift, but for him it was just the creatures adapting to the new environment. At that moment, a girl with pink hair comes to deliver his order. She's wonderful and introduces herself as the chef of this restaurant. Suchin recognizes her as Chef D. During the disaster, she became known as Hell's Chef. She had some kind of magical cooking skill that turned corpses into edible things, and in a world of shortage, no one could resist temptation. However, the dishes made with changed creatures always ended up killing people. Seeing his expression, she wonders, does he think a beautiful girl like me would poison his food? And then she tells him that the dish she served is called Two-Faced Life. It's a meat dish with different preparations on each side. Suchin tries it and says it's really worth the 177,000 while thinking it would be wonderful to have her at home to cook. Outside, Lena says she heard this place is really costly, and Shokin says she can't wait to become a rich wife. So Suchin decides to go to one of the city's most expensive bars, since soon it won't be possible. As soon as he sits down, a bunch of girls surround him, asking what he wants to drink. He starts drinking with them, and when he looks to the side, there's a girl sitting there. Her friend says she was betrayed by her boyfriend and came here to have some fun. The girl says her boyfriend didn't even sleep with her and cheated on her with an older woman. Why do all men act like that? Suchin says it's because men's instinct to reproduce is rooted in their DNA and mind. Suddenly, she drinks her entire drink and asks if he's single. He's confused, but she approaches and asks if he's interested. At that moment, Shokin and Lena enter the bar looking for him, and, at a table in the corner, see him with the 3 girls. Suchin tells her they can go up to a room, and she seems to agree, so the 2 rush off. It seems the desire between them is strong. Shokin and Lena shout at him to stop, but the 2 run to the room, enter, and close the door. He apologizes to her for those 2, and the girl timidly says it's her first time. Suchin feels awkward and flicks her forehead, saying she must be drunk to do something like that. He tells her not to leave the house for the next few days and to stock up on food. She says she understands, and then he says a girl like her shouldn't be in a place like this. With that, he closes the door and leaves, thinking it's a shame, but he won't be able to seize this chance. When he leaves the room, Shokin and Lena are kicking all the doors, but he easily leaves. The next day, he receives all the delivery trucks from the ice, charcoal to the feasts. Wang is confused in the crowd, wondering why Suchin rented such a huge warehouse just to receive so much stuff. And now even Shokin is getting confused, wondering what he's doing. At that moment, Lena points out that the feast from the Green City Hotel has arrived. They're laying out the carpets and arranging all the tables beautifully. Could it be that suddenly a bunch of people will arrive, and he will declare his love for her and propose? Shokin is now all excited, saying that even if he proposes, she'll still think about his case. They decide to go talk to him. She then goes to Suchin and asks why he's buying so much stuff. Suchin says he'll explain later, but can she help him organize everything? Shokin is scared, thinking he's a jerk for making a girl who's about to become rich soon do such hard work. Lena says it must be some kind of test to see if she's qualified to become a rich girl, and at that, Shokin changes her attitude and says she's not that weak type of woman. She knows how to be delicate, but also knows how to work and starts carrying the boxes, but she's dying with anger, saying that when she becomes a rich woman, Suchin will pay. At that moment, Lena comes to try to charm him, saying she'll help carry the boxes. In her mind, she's sure that someone as rich as him won't have just one woman, right? As long as she shows a bit of what she has to offer, she might at least get to enjoy a little. Meanwhile, Suchin is thinking he can't lose free labor like this. After all, with so much ice and tables to set up, they'll need some help. Some time passes, and they finally finish everything. Shokin is dripping with sweat, and her legs are shaking. She says she's been carrying stuff since morning until now. As soon as she becomes his wife, she'll make sure to take all his money. Lena, lying on the ground, is also exhausted, saying that the damn guy really made them carry those heavy ice boxes. Shokin says enough of this test. He has to propose to her right away and start the party, or the guests will arrive. Lena says he needs to hurry up because the food is getting cold. Meanwhile, Suchin gives a good amount of extra money to all the delivery guys, who thank him from the bottom of their hearts. At that moment, Shokin comes and asks Suchin, "Don't you have something to tell me?" Suchin says yes, he thanks her for the help, but unfortunately, there's no payment for them, so they can leave now. Shokin is shocked and tells him to stop joking. The guests are already arriving, not to mention there are 1,000 tables. Why doesn't he just reveal that he wants to marry her so they can have a good life? Suchin looks back and says that's impossible for him. After all, he's already sold the house and accumulated a bunch of debts. They surely want to marry him. Lena says that doesn't make sense. How can someone with no money buy so much ice? Suchin says he's only doing all this to help his very rich boss who wants to do a charity project. Shokin loses her temper and attacks him, saying he's been lying to her this whole time. He says he hasn't lied about anything while she falls to the ground with a monstrous look, saying he's just a poor loser who can forget about marrying her. Suchin says he's not interested at all, and she angrily leaves, saying he's a bastard and will regret it. When they both leave, he thinks they'll regret it once the disaster starts. He then closes the warehouse door to start storing everything in his space. With that, all preparations are finally ready. Back at the hotel, with Wang, the guy he borrowed money from, Wang pulls Shokin aside and tells her not to pay attention to that loser Suchin anymore. She's startled and asks what he's doing there, while Wang points at him and tells his brother it was this guy who hit him. Dahai says he didn't expect it to be this guy here, and Wang asks if he knows that guy. Dahai explains that this kid borrowed 600,000 from him and has to pay it back by tomorrow. Wang says that's perfect, they can settle these two things. Shokin is now happily saying she really got rid of a loser, especially one who owes money to Dahai's brother. Suchin says it really is impossible to have a good meal in that place, and Dahai reminds him that the payment date is tomorrow. Why is he here in his hotel acting like everything's fine? Wang shouts at his brother not even to talk to this guy since he hit him. Sinu then appears and asks what's going on and if they can resolve it. Dahai says if she forces that kid to kneel down and apologize, they can let it slide for today. She then asks Suchin what's going on. He says it's just some pest bothering him. Dahai then bangs on the table, saying he was only calm because his payment is due tomorrow. But from afar, a guy with a goatee asks what's going on and who let him cause trouble here. Suchin and Dahai recognize this guy as Ji Kang. Dahai starts apologizing, asking what he's doing here. Ji Kang says he has important matters to discuss here today, and it's not for him to cause trouble. Dahai knows this guy is an entrepreneur, but is involved in various shady activities and has a lot of people under his command, so it's really not good to go against him. And with that, he apologizes, saying he'll come back later. Suchin recognizes this guy as Skull Crusher, and in the disaster, this guy became one of the most powerful forces, and he even had the boss of hell working for him. Suchin remembers that this hotel was one of the first places where some people with powers appeared, and maybe he got so strong because of something that will happen here. Ji Kang stares at him while Suchin thinks whatever chance arises in this hotel, he'll seize it. Sometime later, Ji Kang is taking Dawn to meet someone named Mr. Sun, and she asks what this guy wants to discuss with her. Mr. Sun says he was looking forward to meeting the wonderful Miss Dawn and then serves her a drink. Dawn realizes there's something wrong with that glass, clearly containing some kind of drug, while Suchin remembers in his past life, he hid in the basement with Shokin and barely survived. He never expected that in this life he would kick her and she would still follow him here, but this is the perfect chance for revenge. Looking at the pool where the two brothers are going to cool off, saying that tonight is strangely hot, but it's worth it since the girls will come in bikinis. They then appear and look at the moon, saying it's strangely bright, it's shining as much as the daytime sun. At that moment, Wang declares his love for her, while Suchin in the room says their love is really about to explode. With a glass to the moon, he welcomes the disaster. The moon then begins to shake and emit a red glow. Everyone outside feels something strange, and their skin begins to burn. They all start running back to the hotel, saying something's wrong. Why is the moonlight burning so much? Inside the hotel, people are confused. It's night, but it's very bright. At that moment, the three of them are running, and everyone is scared. Their skin is already red. They are desperate, looking for somewhere to cool down. They then see an aquarium, run to it, knock it over, and jump in to relieve the pain. The hotel staff ask what's going on and where is Dahai's brother. At that moment, Wang remembers his brother, who appears at the door with his skin all burnt. In the room, Mr. Sun is asking Dawn why she's not drinking, and Ji Kang says they prepared a feast, so why don't they go there now? But Mr. Sun tells him that in this city, nobody can refuse to drink the wine he pours into the glass. Dawn gets angry, thinking Ji Kang set her up. He's so eager to raise his social status that he handed her over to this Mr. Sun. She knows this Sun Debin very well. He's a guy who's untouchable in the city of Shangyu, has harmed many women, and today she became his target. She's absolutely sure there's something wrong with this wine, so she can't drink it, but what will she do? Right at that moment, the moon starts burning the three of them, and they close the curtain, wondering what's happening. Mr. Sun says they'd better go down to understand better, and Dawn feels relieved to get out of the situation. In the lobby, Sinu is trying to calm everyone down, saying the rescue teams must be coming. Ji Kang asks one of his henchmen what's going on. He explains that suddenly the moon shone red, and the temperature outside rose by over 70 degrees. In the news, they're saying that a lot of people have already been injured and burned. Mr. Sun calls the minister and asks them to send someone to pick him up. However, sometime later, he tells Ji Kang that unfortunately, it seems they're having some problems and won't be able to make it. Meanwhile, Dahai is in agony with his entire skin burned. People are trying to apply some burn ointments, but it's not enough, not to mention he needs to be taken to a hospital, but with the high temperature outside, it will be impossible. He says he'll call a friend to come pick him up. The friend answers the phone, saying he's in the middle of nowhere, but okay, he'll come. As soon as he leaves the garage, he sees it's too hot and gets confused. The heat is so intense that the tires burst. He gets out of the car, calls his friend to let him know he'll be delayed, and runs away. However, the sole of his shoe melts, and he slips and falls to the ground. Looking sideways, he sees another person lying there, already a dry corpse. He gets scared and tries to get up without realizing that half of his face is already on the pavement. Everyone in the hotel is startled when he screams on the phone. While all this is happening, our hero is in his room with controlled temperature. He's sleeping soundly in bed. Government announcements are already being made due to the intense heat emitted by the moon. Temperatures have risen by over 75 degrees, with the ground reaching over 100 degrees. The event has already resulted in hundreds of deaths. Please stay indoors to avoid skin and breathing burns. At that moment when the power stations explode due to excess heat, Cutting off some communications, Dahai says he lost contact with his friends. While everyone is in the last room left in the hotel, Shokin and Lena are complaining that they don't want to stay in a room full of men. But at that moment, the power goes out, and with that, the air conditioning also stops working, and everyone starts taking off their shirts, dying of heat. Shokin remembers that Suchin's room has a pool. Meanwhile, our hero is swimming peacefully. He already knew the power would go out because of the explosion in the power stations, and that's also why he chose a room specifically with a pool, in addition to vertical air conditioners and giant batteries to ensure the temperature. But he's also missing some ice here. He sits on the sofa, thinking it's very nice. Now he's hungry, so he sets up a feast on the table. As it's the first day of the disaster, he needs a small breakfast while wondering when that Ji Kang will have the chance to gain powers. Someone knocks on the door, saying they know he's in there. Our hero knows that with the power to teleport and the preparations he made, he doesn't need to worry. So, to cause anger and envy, he decides to open the room. As soon as the door begins to open, a cold breeze comes out, and everyone feels an indescribable relief, wondering why it seems so nice in there and why he has air conditioning. Suchin asks if they need anything. Wong points out to everyone that he has ice, a pool, food, and electricity. Lena and Shokin start shouting at him, asking how he dares to let them burn outside all day while he's living in luxury. He better leave that room now. Dai tells him the time to pay back everything he owed has come, so he better hand over that room. But the moment he steps into the room, he takes a shot in the stomach. Dahai is shocked when he sees the wound, and Suchin warns that if he takes another step, he'll die. Everyone is trembling now. Does he really have a gun? Dahai is outraged, asking where he got that, but another shot is heard in the room, and everyone is scared when Dahai falls to the ground, now with a wound in his leg. Suchin points outside, saying whoever wants to die can stay there, and he'll give them 3 seconds. Whoever is in his line of sight will go to the next life. Meanwhile, Ji Kang is talking to Dawn, asking how it's possible for such a large hotel not to have any food. She apologizes, saying they recently had a feast for over 1,000 people, and the ingredients and food were scheduled to arrive today. At this moment, Mr. Sun, pouring water over his body, commands her to bring all the water and food she has right away. People start to become outraged by the water waste he's causing, and a fight breaks out in the lobby. Just then, Dahai arrives with his injuries, and everyone warns that Suchin shot someone. Seeing the wound, Ji Kang wonders, is there someone with a gun in this place? Seems like there's a tough guy living upstairs. Shokin then informs everyone that Suchin's room has electricity, air conditioning, and even a pool. People surround her, asking if she's not lying. Is she sure? She affirms they can believe her. He even has an ice cube and plenty of food, so everyone decides to go to his room. Meanwhile, Ji Kang sends one of his henchmen to take a look as well. Once again, he opens the door, asking what they want, and everyone feels the fresh and cool air touching their skin. It seems like paradise in there. The crowd outside pleads for him to be kind and take care of the elderly, stating that since it's a hotel emergency, he should share everything he has with everyone. A chubby little boy spots some fried chicken and jumps to grab it. However, he's stopped with a kick to the belly and is sent flying. Suchin warns the parents to take care of the kids, or he'll have to do it for them. People are outraged, asking how he dares to hit a child. He's truly a murderer and doesn't deserve to stay in that room. Everyone starts to enter. However, at that moment, he shoots a guy in the back who falls to the ground. Suchin warns that he may be alone, but everyone there only has one life. He knows the situation seems dangerous, but at any moment, he can jump through the portal and disappear. Downstairs, Wong is furious after his brother suffered 2 gunshot wounds. A crowd threw his body out because he was already dying and decomposing. Wong is saying they have to kill that damn Suchin. Meanwhile, in Suchin's room, Shokin and Lena are sweating and dripping with heat as they're asking to come in, saying they're sure he wouldn't have the courage to shoot them, and that they love him very much and are sure he loves them. If he lets them stay there for a little while, they promise to join him in a 2-against-1 adventure all night long. Suchin says that since they want to work together so eagerly, he'll let them in. They're all happy and disbelieving, but suddenly, Wong passes between them, hitting them, saying he'll kill him. When he's about to touch Suchin, he takes a blow to the face, collides with the 2, and everyone falls to the ground. Seeing Wong beaten in their arms, they're afraid to enter the room, and Suchin says, just go away from here. They leave, and he says he's just playing for now, but if anyone tries anything, the artillery robot he has installed would sort everything out in seconds. Tanks are seen outside the hotel, and everyone believes it's the rescue team. They leave, armed and wearing protective clothing. Upon entering the hotel, they ask if someone named Lucingo is there. The guy introduces himself, and they then tell him to put on the insulation suit and come with them. Everyone asks to be rescued together. However, the soldier assures them to stay calm. The rescue operation will take place tonight at midnight in Silicon Valley Square. The residents celebrate, saying the government really hasn't abandoned them. Meanwhile, Mr. Sun says he'll pay $1 billion if they take him now. However, he's restrained by one of the soldiers who tells him not to interfere with the operation. Mr. Sun tells Ji Kang to do something, but clearly, with so much aim at him, there's no way. At that moment, Shokin grabs one of the soldiers and says there's a killer living upstairs, and Lena says he's already killed a bunch of people and will soon finish everyone here. They need to save the people in the hotel. A soldier named Xiao Fang then says he'll take a look, and his friend tells him to be careful and not act impulsively. He takes his gun and starts climbing the stairs toward the room. Shokin is thinking this is the perfect situation. As soon as this guy kills Suchin, she'll steal that room for herself. Xiao cautiously walks down the hallway, observing every corner, until he notices a camera looking at him. Suddenly, Suchin opens the door and throws a flashbang. Before he could understand what's happening, it explodes in his face, blinding him. A sleeping gas falls at his feet, and when he crouches, Suchin appears from behind and hits him on the head. Sometime later, he stirs in the chamber, not grasping what's occurring and why it's so chilly. Suchin informs him, "Your name is Luke Xiaofang, and you're a leader of the Special Forces. Now that you're alert, let's chat." Xiong glances around at the ice blocks and questions, "What's happening here? Who is he, and where did he obtain those explosives and gear?" Suchin says he's just an ordinary fellow who recently finished school, and he picked up those items on a journey to the Middle East. Swan then inquires if the authorities arranged the pickup spots for tomorrow morning, and Xiaofang is shocked by the fact that he already knows that detail. Suan understands it's all going to be identical to the past existence and cautions Shifang that, even though the chill is greater at midnight, folks can't endure more than 10 minutes outdoors. The huge majority will perish just attempting to arrive at the pickup spot. Shifang states they have no option since many folks are hungry in their residences who can't bear the warmth anymore. Their only hope is to get to the pickup spot, and since it's tough to adjust the cars, there's no time to save everyone inside. At least if they place some covers over their heads, maybe it can work. Suchin then abruptly puts his palm on his shoulder and aims the firearm. Chang requests him to settle down and says all he desires is to at least alert everyone to go with covers. Suchin then severs the cord and says he's loose since he admires the fact that he's rescuing lives, but it's wise he doesn't try to enter here again. Chang asks if he is not scared he'll return with other folks, but Suchin shows him there's no need to be frightened, and Shifang identifies it right away. It's a device with face detection, and it constructed an automatic shooter. He wants to know where Suchin got it, but Suchan says he already mentioned the Middle East. Now he better depart the chamber because he doesn't have time to handle this anymore. Shifang agrees and goes back to the vehicle. Mr. Sun gets mad, thinking that not even the darn warrior could manage a guy. He strikes Gan, saying he really can't do anything. Ga Kerr's helpers ask if they really won't do anything and will put up with this guy. Gan clarifies that, after everyone is saved, they'll still need the ties. It's risky to move now. At that moment, Suchin appears and says, "In times of disorder, you're still hoping to bring back calm." The helper gets upset, but Gan tells him to relax and asks why Suchan came down. Suchin then displays a pail of ice, saying he came here to bargain. The helper tells Gan it's good to eliminate that kid now and grab everything he has in the chamber, but Suchin aims the firearm, and the guy abandons the idea. Ga then says they should discuss deals, and he passes over the chewable ice to both of them. When they taste it, they're amazed with how tasty it is. Gan now also wants to remove Suchan to take everything he has, but first they'll meet his requests. At that moment, Mr. Sun boots him in the belly, saying he's a darn deceiver for concealing those ice blocks, and starts treading on him, saying if he hides anything else, he'll perish. Gon is losing it, and Mr. Sun sees Doing sitting, saying she's a very humble girl. Everyone is about to die of heat, and she hasn't even had the bravery to shed her garments, but he seizes her arm, saying he's weary of seeing her behavior, and he's in the mood to do certain things, so she better follow him. Don slaps him in the face, calling him a jerk, but suddenly Sun tears her shirt, saying for her defiance, he'll take advantage first, and then everyone will do what they want. She drops to the floor afraid, and he says she's perspiring a lot, and he's just doing her a favor. Until Gan appears behind him, saying, "Enough of this." Sun turns to say something, but Gan hits him in the neck with a closed fist, snapping it instantly. He falls to the ground dead, and Gan says Suchin is correct. Indeed, this place is already turmoil, and people like him have to perish with it. And then cautioned that this place is now under his rule. Whoever doesn't want to comply will go to the pickup spot or die here. Upstairs, Suchin watches, saying that evidently his words were useful. Gan was already the leader of this place in the past existence, so we just hurried things up, and with that, the two of them have already been tossed out. Gan then starts sipping the ice San gave him, while Shokin and Lena pleaded for a little peace, saying they'll do whatever he wishes. He throws it to them, saying it's fine. They'll give them some, but they better comply with any request. His helper asks if they're not going to the pickup spot, and Gan says it's too distant. It's not certain they'll live. The helper asks why he wants these women if they're running out of supplies. Gan says it's all part of a scheme to handle Suchin at midnight. Lena and Shokin try to depart, covering themselves with covers, but the helper comes and takes everything off them. Shokin asks what he thinks he's doing, but the helper grieves that, now that they've taken the ice, they'll have to stay with him for a while. Those who chose not to comply with Gan because he didn't provide resources are trying to reach the pickup spot, but even though it's midnight, the ground is much hotter than they pictured. They're trying to shield their feet with a piece of timber, but it makes it hard to stroll and one of them trips. Upon contact with the ground, their hand and face dissolve, leaving the survivor behind to perish. Meanwhile, Taha's body, which was scorching on the ground until now, stirs with red eyes. From the balcony, Suchin watches everything, recalling that in the past existence, he nearly perished on this walk. Kian and Lena say they can do whatever he wishes, but why don't they at least go to the chamber? The helper says they're being too timid. There's no need to try to conceal. But suddenly, the glass breaks, and the two plump guys who were burned come dashing after everyone. Wang thinks they're zombies and asks if they'll turn too if they're bitten. Gon says they need to find out, then grabs him by the neck and tosses him to the two beings. Wang's back is scorched just by making contact with the beings, and Suchin appears with a knife, telling everyone to get out of the way. The helper can't believe he wants to tackle these monsters, and Gan is eager, thinking that as soon as Suchin eliminates the two, they'll remove him and take everything for themselves. Suchin knows that bodies exposed to heat turn into zombies, but they don't share any illness. You could say they're more like dry demons. The difference is that these demons keep some memories from their past existence. Sten stands still and Mr. Sun passes by him and goes towards Gan. That's because he was eliminated by him, but Wang Di was eliminated by Suchin and attacks him. However, seeing this situation, he's sure that the chance for Gan to awaken some ability is by eliminating Mr. Sun, so he goes in his direction and cuts off his chance. A purple gem comes out of his body, and that's a kind of core that can improve a human body. He seizes the gem, jumps back, and pushes the high towards everyone. With that, he goes up the stairs and tells them to have fun. Jin grabs the guy on the ground again and tosses him towards the being. Back in his chamber, Suchin says these gems are extremely rare. He puts it in a cup and sips it since that's the absorption method. The body pulls the energy from the gem and boosts itself. His eyes turn red, and he starts yelling while all his garments burn. He drops on the ground on top of an ice block. While in the lobby, the dry demon has finished all their water. Now that there's nothing to sip or eat, Lena wants to flee, but the helper stops her, saying she's not going to run away. At that moment, Lena says they should use Shokin. She was Suchen's wife, and if they toss her at the door, it's certain he'll open it, and then they can try to nab something from him. The helper says it's a great plan, and Shin says she'll assist, but she wants to eat meat first. The helper says there's no meat since the coolers have been off for days. Gon looks at her and asks if she wants meat, then he has a fix. They restrain Lena. He cautions her if she wants to, she'll have to do it. Shokin is stunned, asking if he means they're going to eat her meat, while Lena is shaking. Shadow Keen is going towards her. Lena begs, saying, "What are you doing? You're not going to do that, are you?" But Shane goes to her face and says she just betrayed her by talking about her being Suchin's wife. Since she did that, she deserves it, and then strikes 3 times. Gan and the helpers are even scared to see how she did that without doubt. Shokin is going wild, saying that when she's full, she'll go up and sip Suchin's blood. The helper looks at Gan and asks if they're really going to do that. Gan says to call the leader quickly, or else they'll dry up. Meanwhile, in the chamber, Suchin is leaping around with his new body. Not only is he more resistant to heat, but he's also more nimble and strong. At that moment, he sees Duan at the door, standing at the entrance. She's thinking it's getting crazy down there. She doesn't have a hope of surviving if she stays there, so she has to try her luck and use what's left of her worth to get something here. Right at that moment, Suchin opens the door bare, and she gets frightened. She yells, and he says sorry, saying it was accidental. He was thrilled about some news in the chamber. He then tells her that, even though he has resources, it's limited. And besides, they just met, and he can't accept her just because she's pretty, right? He recalls that in the past existence, she was a very clever woman. Furthermore, she formed a teamwork bond with Gal Kion. However, Even though he had thought about having her around, the mood feels odd now. Duan then tells him that she's not just a cook, she's also a healer who has been working as a surgeon for 3 years. She's thinking that his chamber is extremely well equipped. Not only does it have power, but it also has ice and food. She needs to show her value to stay here. On the couch, Suchin admits that being a healer is indeed a good offer. However, as she knows, resources are extremely scarce, and it's unsure if they'll live until tomorrow. Feeling unsure upon hearing this, she says that, as long as he doesn't toss her out of the chamber, she'll do whatever he wishes. Upon hearing this offer, Suchin instantly states that this is her new home. She feels shy, thinking she said that a bit quickly and accidentally. Suchin cautions her that her only choice is to act well. If he catches her planning something behind his back, their bond will end. Duan assures him that she gets it and will never question any of his ways or resolve. Suchin then suggests that she can show her resolve by shedding her clothes. She was shy, asking if they were going to start now. Taking a bath, she thought that with water, power, food, and still not having to worry about the weather, that place was simply paradise for anyone. The only issue was that Suchan wasn't exactly as sane. He seized her by the chin and said he was going to give her something different to eat. After 7 days of hunger, Duan opened her mouth, expecting anything she would get. While she thought she knew very well the path this was going to take, she was ready the moment she entered the chamber. Suchin was just like us, watching on his phone screen with a cheeky grin. He said he wasn't doing that just to spy, it was to stop her from doing wrong things. She then came out of the bathroom wearing heels. Heavens above, thank goodness she's a healer, because I'm sure that some hearts stopped. She even asked Suchin if it wasn't too brief. He told her to turn around and she blushed. And with that, he examined it in an extremely careful clinical way and decided that it was perfect. Suddenly, someone was tapping on the door asking for aid. It seemed to be Jie Kong, holding Shikang, but he had big teeth. Don said he couldn't open the door since those guys had eaten Li down there. If they let them in, they might be eaten too. Suchin asked her if they really had eaten someone. Outside, the 3 guys were holding Shifang, while Suchin appeared in the background, telling them not to break people's doors. They looked at Suchan with a bunch of veins on their faces and giant teeth. It seemed like everyone was changing. What Suchan didn't know was that there was a guy right next to the door. Suddenly, he attacked with a toy blade right in Suchin's face, but he easily seized the arm and managed to hold the guy. Gang and his helpers were halfway changed and couldn't believe he dodged that. Suddenly, Shachang broke free from them and ran towards Suchin. She reached out for aid, saying he needed to save her, but he seized her by the neck, and clearly, she was also changing. Suchin explained that those who eat human flesh in this new world now change, so clearly, she's no longer human to be saved. Jie Fang said it was the end of the world, so it didn't matter if they were eating someone, as long as they could live. And Xia Kang even said the meat was tasty, and her body was filled with energy. She tried to attack Suchin, saying she was keen to taste him, but she received a boot and was thrown from the door of the chamber to the other side. It broke even the window, falling outside the building, but she managed to hold on at the last moment and started climbing, saying that Suchin wouldn't escape so easily. But that's when she noticed it. She was getting hit by the blazing sun and started to burn. Suchin was calm, with his hand in his pocket, while the 3 thugs ran towards him, saying he couldn't be given the chance to pull out a weapon. But calmly, Suchin asked why they thought he would waste bullets. Suddenly, one of them leaped in Suchin's face, saying he was underestimating them too much, and the sneaky guy pulled out the toy weapon and said he likes to waste it, and he hit the guy right in the head. Even though they were monsters, they kept their awareness, so they came up with a plan to spread out and attack him from all sides. While Suchin finished off one coming from the front, the other thug was already above on the ceiling, warning that not only were they quicker, but their reaction time was also much better. With one attacking from each side, he took advantage to go over and warned Suchin that it was the end for him. He was sure that with a hit, he would finish the boy and nab everything he had, but Suchin leaped and caught him halfway, asking if he had finished chatting. And with that, they both fell, with Suchin smashing his head on the ground. Another toy blade came for him, but Suchin was a gem and easily blocked it with a single move. He disarmed one of the zombies and took out the other one beside. Gan took advantage of this opening to try to land a hit, but his neck was also seized, and Suchin slammed him against the wall. But that's when something else was coming from the hall. Even Suchin seemed to be startled by what he saw. It was Shokan, fully changed into a dry demon. She leaped from the glass and approached Suchin. He recognized her and called her by her name. Seeing the change, he said she changed too fast, so evidently her issues are deep. As he finished off Gie Kwang, he said since she wouldn't vanish, he would finish her off again. And with that, Jie Kan was lifeless. changed and let out a beastly yell. Inside the chamber, Dawn was getting amazed. I'm also very amazed with her, gosh, saying that Suchin was too incredible. He was tackling the entire K-gang alone, but seeing that being in the hall, she knew that was much more risky than the others. She knew that if she wanted to stay by his side for a long time, she couldn't be a load to him, so she called Suchin's name, who turned to see what it was. He was puzzled by her saying she would assist. He said if she didn't get scared and hide, that was already good, but if she came out armed like that with so much boldness, he would be very distracted in combat. She was kind of puzzled until she realized she was indeed an amazing healer. Meanwhile, Shokin was making some noises until she let out a big yell and leaped towards Suchin with her mouth open. He was surprised and turned to see her coming, but it was too late. He took a blow right on the shoulder. Dawn was startled and called out his name, but at that moment, Suchin had already triggered his wild power, and her claws only made small scratches. Shokin turned around in disbelief. In a quick move using her tail, she reached Suchin's back, and taking advantage that he was still, she bit him right on the shoulder, but her teeth couldn't pierce his skin, which seemed as hard as steel. She couldn't grasp what just happened. Suchin asked if her teeth were just for show, but cautioned that now it was his turn. He seized one arm and then the other. He leaped backwards to her back, holding her. He pressed his foot on her spine, and with her unable to react, he asked if she was ready. With that, he pulled both her arms out while leaping and slamming her on the ground. Shokin fell to the ground in pain, and Suchin stylishly landed behind her with the toothpicks in his hand, tossing her remains away. He said he was planning to make her suffer much more in this disaster, but now that she's like this, she forced him to finish her off as fast as possible. But suddenly, he noticed something. Using her tail, Shokin seized one of the bodies on the ground. She opened her beastly mouth and started swallowing the guy. Her mouth stretched all the way to the side of her spine, and her body could heal. Pulling her left arm, he said they would start with that one. From the other side of her ear, he said it was now the turn of the right arm, and pulled another one. The monster was hurting, tossing the 4 limbs up. She fell to the ground beaten, but she easily healed. As soon as she was back to 100%, Suchin said the first round was over, but she better get ready because the second was about to begin. From the chamber, Dawn watched everything, the shower of limbs being thrown everywhere, while Suchin kept finishing her off. She healed once again, and it was time for the third round. He continued removing each of her limbs and the tail, and with that came the 4th round, the 5th round. He began testing removing other parts, and after many tries, Shokin was on the ground crying, while Suchin said he was already pleased. He wasn't a demon, but the little humanity left in her made her ask why she was being treated like this. Suchin didn't like that question, especially because he recalled very well what she did to him in the past when he did everything for her and was stabbed in the back. And then he went to tread on her, saying it was payback, and with one step, it was the end of Shokan. In disbelief and afraid of what she saw, Dawn asked if he was okay and if he was sane, but Suchin ignored her question and only wanted to know if she was ready. Amidst that turmoil, she was puzzled and asked, "Ready for what?" Suchin approached her from behind and said he had been so brave, now shouldn't she reward him? Dawn seemed to agree because she only asked if it would be right there. In another part of the city at a pickup spot, someone said the temperatures seemed to be steadying. With open hands, this person wondered if it was the end of the disaster. When suddenly, Xing appeared, a little shy, calling for the leader. He cautioned that there was a crowd of survivors nearing the pickup spot, and the leader took a peek. With short hair and carrying 3 giant tools, she watched what was coming. They weren't survivors, but zombies that had already changed into dry demons. As soon as the leader noticed this, her pupils shrank. The demons began to dash towards them, and she cautioned to clear all civilians from that place. But the zombie crowd seemed endless, and Xing begged the leader not to perish while defending her. At the front line, she told him to quiet down and advance to the pickup spot. Meanwhile, Suchin said now she would feel the strength of the wild power. But Dawn, since she already felt that wild power many times, asked how many times they had done it. Suchin cautioned her that the extreme heat waves would ease off for now, and he wanted to go out to fix something, so he needed to leave her with lasting memories. Timidly, Dawn asked if she couldn't go with him. Suchin seemed to ignore her question and only said that the people around him first needed to meet 2 rules. They needed to be useful and absolutely comply with any order. And she replied that she got it. Another wild adventure begins. With that, Mick fell and Suchin said Dawn had fully yielded to him. He knew he had to return soon before the great mess began. In the past existence, the excess of people moving towards the pickup spot caused large crowds of zombies that ended up wrecking that place. Many civilians and warriors died in that gathering. Moreover, this caused toy weapons to fall into the hands of several people. Suddenly, 3 guys appear in front of him and told him to halt the car, or he will face the results. From inside, Suchin seemed calm, wondering if that guy was nuts to ask a car to stop like that. With that, he lightly tapped the guys, sending them soaring. Very kindly, our hero put the 3 to rest peacefully on the road. Suchin knew it would be the same as before. The extreme heat and the wave of zombies caused the fall of the subway underground, as many people ran to the deepest part to escape the heat. Tens of thousands perished there. Watching the bottom of the subway, several red eyes stared at him. That's because the sound of the car was drawing everyone. Sadly, it wasn't worth hunting power gems, since you would have to look into each of their heads, and with so many down there, it would take too much time. He then decided to take a peek at the situation at the school, while recalling that he hadn't been to this place since his completion from the engineering university. It might have fallen again when Suchin stowed his car in the special space. He entered a building and came face to face with 2 changed beings. They were chained by collars around their necks, and from the back, on the couch, 3 guys seemed calm. And the leader said that for Suchin to enter their area, he would have to drop that backpack on his back. Suchin took out a chicken leg from the bottom of the backpack, asking if those guys could assist him in offering some of the food. They couldn't believe someone had a chicken leg at a time like this. The leader instantly said he would surely assist him. Just toss those chicken legs. Suchin grinned and threw the chicken leg right in the middle of the 2 dry demons. Hunger took over, and the 3 guys tried to lunge to compete for the chicken leg, but it was tied by a string, and the 3 were startled when Suchin started pulling. He said sorry, saying the 3 did deserve to eat something so nice. They seized his weapons to finish Suchin, but Suchin seized the toy one to sort everything out, and 3 loud sounds echoed in that chamber. Surely it was a very good sleep-inducing tool because the 3 boys went into an eternal rest. While Suchin couldn't recall so many fools surviving in the past existence, maybe the advice he's giving to other people have affected the world more than he thinks. He heads to the reptile and snake lab door, grabbing the lock on the door. He easily breaks it, saying evidently not many people come to this place, as most of the beings there had already perished. The scent of death filled the place. Seeing that it had eaten several others, he understood how it lived in the past existence. This was one of the first beings to undergo the ancient change, which means reverting to an old form. He knows that in a week, floods will begin, and that's when this monster will change. If he can't stop it, it will cause a lot of trouble. Seeing that it keeps gazing at him, Suchin thinks that it seems to have already gained some awareness. Suddenly, he hears a sound and realizes someone is there, just behind the door. Some armed men prepare to enter. They yell that they know Suchin is inside and order him to come out now. The hero calmly comes out, saying he's at a key moment and can't be bothered. However, suddenly he notices something. A girl with gray hair approaches, and the guys seem to recognize her. Before they can react, she leaps towards them, putting one in a neck hold, another in a leg lock. Before the other guy can react, she falls next to him and climbs onto his back. A quick hand move, and another one is down. However, someone points a toy gun to her head, saying her moves weren't bad. She quickly reacts, elbowing the person's hand and raising both legs to trap Suchin. However, when she tries to apply pressure to break his head, he doesn't budge, and the guy doesn't even react. Right, he's taking deep breaths. A minute later, he points the toy gun again and asks who she is. Now tied up, if it was just a hold, there was no need for all that show, but it seems he tied her up for something more. She introduces herself as Bang from the Special Operations Team and cautions Suchin that he better let her go. He ignores what she said and asks if she knows Xiao Fang, also from the Special Forces. She is shocked that he knows the guy, and Suchin says he once saved that kid's life. With a yummy piece of meat being cooked, Suchin says he gets everything. It seems that a group of runaways took control of the school and are using several people as captives. Kang says it all happened very fast when Chafang was rescuing some prisoners, calmly eating his meat. Suchin says that if that's the case, it's not her fault. She says that now, with these powers, those people are nothing to fear. However, she wants to know if she will be free from these cords. Oddly, Suchin says he will only release her if she traps him with her leg again. Man, this guy doesn't stop. She says she agrees to do it if he gives her a piece of meat. Sometime later, the cord was cut. What happened? I have no clue. But Suchin handed her a weapon, saying there's a lot to fix, so he can't assist for now. He tells her to depart and stop being a bother. However, Kang said she will attack the guy's base. Without the resources they nabbed, the survivors won't have anything to eat. She insists, saying this might be the last time they see each other. Hearing that the guys have several supplies, Suchin tells her to wait. He goes through his bag and pulls out a rifle, saying that Shifang is her brother, so he will be a little aid. Meanwhile, in the office block of the school, in a chamber, there are several armed guys and another with two girls on his lap. He asks how things are going. One of the helpers says everyone is waiting outside. This time they will be able to finish off all the students. The leader says that's nice to hear and tells them to put those who defy on the front line so they perish quickly. Suddenly, the door is kicked in. Everyone is startled, and Suchin appears, saying sorry for interrupting the meeting. One of the helpers asks how he got there when there are more than 20 guards in the building. Suchin says he will calmly explain how he got in. He points his finger at one of the guys and says, "Bang!" The guy's head bursts. Everyone in the chamber is shocked, wondering how it's possible for someone to eliminate another person just by pointing a finger. Suchin continues pointing at everyone and cautions that anyone who moves will perish. The leader angrily tells him to quiet down. However, from somewhere else, a person with a sniper rifle says the target has been removed. It's Bang from the top of a building with the rifle, but she's nervous as Suchan is alone there, and there are a lot of risky people in that place. For her, this plan of his to go alone is very daring. However, when Suchan handed over the weapon, these were exactly the orders he gave. She wonders how she had the bravery to trust something so silly. Suddenly, when she aims, the curtains are closed. She yells to Suchin, asking what's happening and why the curtains were closed. She hears that the people in the chamber seem to have figured out it was a sniper doing the job. She runs out, now sure that her spot has been found. She runs down the stairs, hoping Suchan is okay, running wildly while hearing in her earpiece that they are sending people to eliminate him. The poor girl is almost losing her mind. She bursts through the door, saying she's here for payback. However, the helpers are all on the ground as Suchin is holding the leader by the neck. He cautions that there are no supplies